Welcome people to the latest OGDuffy video, and this week we are doing a versus video. Now, as you know, those that watch me regularly will tell you we have a good little community building here, okay, on the OGDuffy channel. And this community is great because the knowledge you guys share in the comments is second to none, honestly. You think you know something, and then I ask a question on here, and you guys in the comments let me know tenfold, and always comment on the videos and let me know great little stories and tales about these games, okay? Now, obviously, these getting older and older and older, so these little knowledges, little nuggets of information will be restored and kept on here, which is great. Okay, so this week's versus video has been suggested by one of you guys, okay? Now, if you've got any suggestions for future versus videos, do drop them in the comments for me, alright? Because I'm adding them to the list and it gives me a good focus. Not just that, it gives me a chance to visit games that I may have missed back in the day, and then I get a bit more fun from it too, okay? So, this week's versus video was suggested by none other than Alcon L. Hackney. Alcon L. Hackney. Now, I could be wrong, fella, but I'm guessing there's a bit of East London coming out there in the name. Let me know if I'm right. Hey, anyway, Alcon, thank you very much for this suggestion. Alcon has come forward and has suggested the following: Power Drift by Sega. Now, I tell you what, I do remember this game back in the arcades in the day, and but I don't think I ever played it on a cab. I really don't. I remember seeing it, but I don't think I played it. Or in any of the home systems. So this was a real interesting title for me, Alcon. So thank you very much for that, all right? I have to say, I'm well impressed with it. The graphics on this bad boy were out there, you know what I mean? So it's going to be really interesting to see how the home versions compared to the arcade. But also, another first for the OGDuffy channel. We're doing a double competition this week, or double comparisons. We're looking at two 16-bit versions. We're looking at the Atari ST and the Commodore Amiga. Them two are going to go head to head and see who wins in my versus video. And then we're going to look at the 8-bit systems. We're going to look at the usual suspects. We've got the ZX Spectrum, the Amstrad CPC, and the Commodore 64. So, first off, we'll jump straight in and we will do the 8-bit systems, followed by the 16-bit systems, where I give my verdict. As always, if you agree with my verdict, let me know in the comments. If you disagree, let me know also and tell me why, alright? Because let's be honest, we can't all have the same opinion, can we? And I never take offence, because no one offends each other here. We do very well, and we're a nice community, which is great. So, without further ado, as always, let's get straight into it, and we're going to look at the arcade version first, because, hey, we need to see what we're comparing to. So here we go, the arcade version of Sega's Power Drift from 1988. So, as you can see, first off, very bright this was. Graphically, I was well impressed with this, so a great suggestion, Uncle. As you can see, graphically it was very good, but the processing power this board must have used here because of the different scrolling and stuff. And not just that, if you look, you've got a tilt effect going on as well, which pushed the hardware even further. Now, this was released, as already said, in '88 by Sega, and it used Sega Y Board technology. Quite what that entailed, I don't know, but hey, it was very good and obviously had some very powerful stuff on it. Now, this come in two forms. You could have a sit-down cab which had some hydraulics, and there was a stand-up version as well. Obviously this followed a few years after Outrun, so built upon Outrun very well, I thought. Basically, you'd race other kart drivers, and you had to end in the top 3 position to make it through to the next round. So let's see how the home systems managed to cope with that great technology. And now, without further ado, let's get into the 8-bit systems. And the first 8-bit system we're going to take a look at is the Amstrad version. Now, of all of these 8-bit systems, I'm going to try and show you as a similar amount of footage as I can. So if you see a bit of a jump mid-game or mid-flow, it's because I've cut a middle section out. So we see a whole sort of race course, etc. And as you can see here on the Amstrad, very bright graphics, which I'm beginning to note on quite a few of their games, the decent ones anyway. They do quite a good job with these colours. It's nice and bright. Graphically, it wasn't too bad. And as you can see here, you know, going up the ramp and getting that sort of seesaw motion effect, etc., it did it very well. Now, as you can hear, there was only sound effects. There was no in-game music on this one. But compared to the other systems that I played, I did find with this one, on a positive, the aerial sections, when you're sort of going up the ramps and stuff, played very, very well. So, did you own this on your Amstrad back in the day? If so, did you have good memories of this? Was it a good game for you? Do, as always, let me know in the comments. So, next up, we're going to go take a look at the ZX Spectrum version. Let's see how that compares, shall we? So here we go, ZX Spectrum version. As you'd expect, sort of the monochrome colours going on, but rather than just sticking to the monochrome, obviously, as you can see there, they broke it up with the with that yellow banding going on. Now, this didn't look too bad, and it didn't play too bad either. Obviously, a lack of sound, but it had some great sort of effect noises and stuff in typical Specky fashion. By using the colours in this way and the monochrome graphics, I found it worked well in preventing colour clash, which was always an issue with most games on the ZX Spectrum, where they sort of try to use too many colours. But I felt it worked well. The main road that you're on now, I felt played a lot better and looked a lot smoother than when you were up on the sort of the aerial sections like this here. So that concludes the ZX Spectrum version. Overall, good effort, Specky. I know it was a very limited system for the time, but very well done. I do believe the 48K version of this had zero sound. So, you know, this is obviously taken from the 128. But looked good, played well. Overall, not bad, not bad, not bad. But let's see how it compares, because next up we've got the classic Commodore 64. So here we go, Commodore 64 version. Now, first things first, obviously looked quite good. I thought it was very playable for a racer on the C64. It seemed fast, it had a good speed, and it played quite nicely. It was smooth, and as I said, the colours were decent. Obviously, the main thing you can also hear here, as always, is the Commodore SID chip, making great use as per usual with some great quality music. I mean, the C64 music from the video games, so identifiable in it. You know, you can recognise that it's a SID chip anytime at all. So this is the last version of the 8-bits we're looking at. Price wise, I think this was probably around anywhere between $7.99 and $9.99. Usually, as we know, the Spectrum version was usually quite a bit cheaper. Now, this was released a year later on the 8-bit systems. I mean, it came out in the arcade in '88, and in '89 was released to the home systems by Activision. Were several other versions of this on different systems, but as always, we're just looking at these three 8-bits today. A PC Engine version of this was out, but again, that was a few years after. And overall, very good effort again on the 64. It's going to be a tough call for all of these systems. Now, as I said at the very beginning of the video, a first for OGDuffy. We're taking a look at 16-bit versions as well. And when I do my comparisons and the winners at the end, I will be doing a winner for the 16-bit and a winner for the 8-bit. Because obviously that's fair, because these systems were a lot more powerful. I mean, graphically, as you can see straight away, completely different to the 8-bit. Found this played a bit choppy, personally. And I found when it comes to overtaking the vehicles, it seemed a bit more luck than judgment. But hey, you know, had synthesized voiceovers, as you heard, and obviously that soundtrack running throughout. Now, when this was released, I think Commodore Amiga and such magazines scored this in the 90s, so it was very well received. Went down particularly well. So overall, although it's my first look at this 16-bit version, it looks lovely and the rest of it, but gameplay wise, was it as good as the 8-bit versions? Hey, you know, let's have a look at the Atari ST now. Let's see how it compared. So, first off, one thing I noticed here was looking between the Atari ST and the Amiga, graphically, there didn't seem an awful lot of difference in it to me. Had the synthesised voice over as well, which was a good thing, and obviously sound effects and the rest of it. But again, I found this choppy to play. I just felt it was a bit, you know, a bit uncomfortable. But graphically, and the way they both play, both of these systems, there was hardly anything in it. Now, obviously, the big difference between this and the Amiga version is the music. No music featured on the Atari ST version, but it did on the Commodore. So, as usual, folks, did you guys lucky enough back in the day to own an Amiga or an Atari ST? Did you remember this game? Any other suggestions for future games I should do comparisons of? Then, as always, please do drop them in the comments. So, without further ado, that was all the versions we're looking at today. Let's get to my all-important verdict and see who wins what. Well, that was the 16-bit versions right there, the Atari ST and the Commodore Amiga. I never owned an ST back in the day. I owned an Amiga, I think I had the 500, and I've still got one in my garage. I should really get out and check it works. Anyway, so it was great visiting these two. So, which one gets my verdict? Which one wins out the 16-bit systems? Well, both very, very similar, okay? And graphically, gameplay, not a lot between them, to be honest. And there was only one thing that the Amiga did that the Atari didn't. And that was music. Had music playing during the gameplay. And that was the only difference. Between the two, if I've got to pick one, I'm going to go Commodore Amiga simply because of the addition of the music. Alright? If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong. Tell me why. How did we do with the 8-bit systems? So in third position, it goes to the ZX Spectrum. Okay, as you can see from the play there, it did a good job. Sprites were strong and everything else, and graphically it was good. I felt the roads were a little bit awkward when it sort of goes up on the sort of the roller coaster bits, we'll call them. But all in all, it was a good conversion. But again, I'm comparing this conversion to the three 8-bit ones that I had going on. So Spectrum in third, and in second position goes to the Commodore 64. It was fast, it was good, it played really well, and I was impressed with this. A good conversion, very playable, very, very playable. Did well on this C64. So all in all, very good turnout, greatly done. And my winner, of course, only leaves one for the 8-bit systems, which is the Amstrad CPC. Now, I gave it to the Amstrad. It looked good. It played well. And it was a great, bright conversion. You know, I was never a fanboy of the Amstrad back in the day. I was always a C64 and a Spectrum man. I both very much loved both systems, pretty much on the same level. But Amstrad, I don't know, I was never a big fan of it. But credit where it's due, you know, and this version was bloody good. So, this week, the 8-bits goes to Amstrad. So, well done, Amstrad. Now, if you don't already do so, please hit that subscribe button, because I put these videos up weekly, and I add some extra little pick-up videos and all that sort of good stuff in between too. So there's always something worth watching. And if you don't agree, or you do agree, let me know in the comments as always. So, thanks for watching. You're brilliant, folks. Keep them suggestions coming. All the best. OGDuffy, I'm out. If you watch the video and you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe for more great videos. Thanks for watching.